Hey, everybody. Going live a little early versus the time that I had this scheduled for, which was going to be later this afternoon. Just got lucky with a few quiet minutes here at the house and want to share a cool new resource that I don't know exactly how I stumbled across this. I don't know if it was through web searches or if I got, I really don't know. I found this website, Academia.edu. Through methods unknown, but we've got it now. And I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought it was, it seems to be like a pretty neat resource for academic papers. Found a PDF that I want to share with you today that I have the little thumbnail whacked together for you there, sort of as an introduction to this resource. And I just thought I'd knock this out as a live. Maybe a couple of you will make it and watch while I'm recording this, and maybe not, because I did it off schedule. But we can check it out. You can check it out later. It's up. It'll be up forever after this, right? Knocking stuff over here. I'm turning on a fan that I hope you guys don't hear too much. Just to give me a little fresh breeze as I get ready to session and read this for you. But our document is the following. Let's see here. Let me go into my recents. I thought I had it all ready to go. Swear I had that up. That's what I get for going live, right? That's what I get for going live early. That's all right. Nobody's here yet, I'm sure, right? I think this is the one. That's not the one. I keep opening the same incorrect file. Could we please? Okay, got it. So once again, this is from Academia.edu. Please check out this resource yourselves. This PDF I'm going to bring up on screen with us here and share it. So let's bring up the correct tab. Okay. And how's that looking? You do see it. Okay. I dragged it down into my Google Docs so that I could better directly access the content itself of the PDF. J.M. Giacomo, and a mine lease in Japan that never happened. This was authored by Takahiro Yamamoto. And I'm not sure the date of this paper. The Boshin War that broke out in early 1868. Off to a great start. Brought down the Tokugawa Shogunate that had ruled Japan for over 260 years within a matter of several months. Scholars have uncovered extensive involvements of foreign merchants and diplomats who supplied arms on both sides of the war, the imperial force led by the Satsuma and Choshu domain, as well as the pro-Tokugawa Northern Alliance, in parentheses, Au Reppan Domain. One of the most vocal in the latter camp was the Eizu domain in northeastern Japan, which saw the imperial forces campaign as little more than the pursuit of self-interest by Satsuma and Choshu. By September, however, Eizu found itself increasingly isolated and financially pressured. The imperial force had ordered major merchants in Kyoto and Osaka to contribute for their cause, to which the merchants largely obliged. In need of quick cash to keep fighting, Eizu turned to foreign merchants. This short piece introduces what I have been able to find out about one such figure, a man named J.M. Giacomo. In the archival collection of papers of Harry Parkes, the British minister to Japan during the Boshin War, there is a document titled Mine Lease Contract between Prince of Ezu and J.M. Giacomo, Wakamatsu, first introduced to the Academia by Hoya Toru, the contract. We have a fairly robust footnote here with some citations. We're going to skip right over that. First introduced to the Academia by Hoya Toru, the contract bears the signature and seals of the three top officials of the Ezu domain, Kajiwara Heima, Yabina Kunji, Ebina Gunji in brackets, and Yamawatsu Daikaku, Yamauchi Daigaku in brackets, signed on September 15, 1868. Document says that, quote, the Prince of Ezu appoints J.M. Giacomo, Esquire of Yokohama, merchant, his special agent, in quotes, who would negotiate with foreign company or association, quote, the leasing or letting of all the mines of gold, silver, copper, lead, and other metals contained in the Prince of Ezu's estates and dominions. The contract was extensive in its nature and had the potential of altering the future of Japan's relations with the Euro-American imperialism. Giacomo was given full authority to sign an international contract on the prince's behalf. The contract authorized him to sign a 21-year lease with, quote, Company of Adventurers, I love that turn of phrase, for the Ezu mines, in addition to, quote, all the woods and forests in the vicinity of the mines. If the foreign investors find it necessary, they would be allowed to construct roads for the proper and efficient working of the mines, for which purpose Ezu would give the land for free. Furthermore, Ezu would allow the migration of foreign engineers, miners, laborers, or, quote, any men or implements which the company of adventurers may deem useful. Further, the company would be allowed to use unleased or unutilized land for grazing of its livestock. In exchange, Ezu would receive $500,000 Mexican dollars in cash and a royalty of varying amount for the ensuing production of minerals and timber. The foreign investors could sell the minerals to whomever they wanted, domestically or for export, but the Ezu retained the first right to purchase them at a market rate. The contract was open for renewal upon mutual agreement after the initial 21-year term, but without an agreement, Ezu would regain control of the mines and related facilities. The document purported to create a major foreign enterprise in Japan's northeast, far exceeding other known foreign investments in Japan's resources. The assigned agent was John Mark Francis Giacomo, resident in Yokohama of Swiss-British background. Giacomo, born in Geneva in 1808, was a naturalized British citizen since 1845, and had arrived in Yokohama sometime in late 1861. He was working in London as a silk merchant and inspector, but in January 1861 he had filed for bankruptcy. His move to Yokohama with his wife and their two children. That was the actual sentence. He moved to Yokohama with his wife and their two children. His choice of Yokohama was most likely influenced by the recent expansion of export silk products from that port, and it turned out he made the right choice. In this booming export market, his knowledge of silk was highly valued. Charles Winchester, British consul in Kanagawa, in parentheses, Yokohama, praised him for providing, on various occasions, quote, trustworthy and interesting information on the subject of the silk trade. In terms of sales, his business ranked somewhere in the middle among the 70-odd foreign merchant houses in Yokohama in the 1860s. By March 1875, Giacomo had accumulated over $38,000 in his account with the Yokohama branch of Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank. It's interesting that they point out that time period because this is after this point in time of this deal. Apparently he stayed in the region after the fall of the Shogunate. The amount was small compared to other big clients such as Jardine and Matheson Co. or Walsh and Hall Co. But as an individual merchant, he could be considered a success. Giacomo was well integrated in the community of foreign merchants in Yokohama. Among his business partners were the Schnell brothers, who provided arms and military advice to the Northern Alliance during the Boshin War. Edward Schnell and Giacomo were close enough. This is another amazing sentence. Edward Schnell and Giacomo were close enough to go on a horse riding together around Yokohama with their mutual friend, Caspar Brenwald, who worked as the Swiss consul general from 1866 and hired Edward as a translator. A bit of a mouthful of a sentence there, but they were close enough to go on a horse riding together around Yokohama. Maybe there was a shortage of horses and they were just like platonically nuts to butts riding the horse around, you know, like, hey buddy, it's okay. We, both went to public school. We shower together. Let's ride this horse. We got business to conduct. That was really an interesting phrase. The circumstantial evidence strongly suggests there was a direct communication between the three named officials of the Eizu domain and Giacomo in northeastern Japan during the Boshin War. John Black, an editor of newspapers, Japan Gazette and Japan Herald in Yokohama, noted that Giacomo was willing to travel to the Japanese interior even during the time of troubles to gauge the possibility of expanding the silk production. Nothing was keeping this guy out of the areas of interest. These troubles likely referred to the Boshin War because Giacomo's information was used in 1869 for the trip to the silk-producing regions by Francis Adams, Secretary of the British Legation. Correspondingly, writing for Japan Weekly Mail in May 1875, Giacomo himself claimed that he was in the northeastern region in the wake of the war in 1868 and discovered mineral beds on the banks of a river. At the time, he was accompanied by officials of the local government, but they had no knowledge of the potential value of the deposit, he recalled. While the information on the mine lease itself is scarce, Giacomo's name reverberated in London, where, around early 1869, it was rumored that Giacomo had come close to signing a, quote, wonderful silk contract, but it, quote, fell to the ground. Some sources on the side of the Northern Alliance make a brief mention of Giacomo. According to the memoir of Shuji Shirichiro Zemon, my apologies, a samurai of the Eizu domain, Giacomo visited the Sendai castle sometime during the war, and Itakura Katsukiyo, the lord of the Bichu Matsuyama domain and the shogunate's longtime senior counselor, arranged a financial loan with him, under which the Yonezawa domain would receive cash in exchange for its silk. Tsuji also noted that Giacomo and the Schnell brothers received from Matsudaira Katamori, the lord of Eizu, a gift of sword that used to belong to Itakura. Overall, it looks likely that the Northern Alliance saw Giacomo as someone who could arrange an international commercial deal even in the wake of war, and declared neutrality, by which, in theory, Giacomo was bound as a British citizen. So they thought he was slick enough to pull off a deal even under auspices that would seem to otherwise prevent that. If the mining contract was indeed agreed between the Eizu officials and Giacomo, it shows the desperate attempt by the former to obtain cash quickly in exchange for the mineral deposits within their fief. It seems to me, I don't know what mineral deals usually look like, but that seemed very one-sided sort of deal. Never mind the fact that they were being offered Mexican currency instead of British pounds for this deal as well, on top of it all. The results would have been, to get back to it, an extensive foreign commercial interest developing in the heart of the Japanese archipelago. The investment would have given Eizu and the Northern Alliance financial grounds to continue the war a little longer. But this did not materialize due to Eizu's surrender in early November 1868. Thereafter, no Meiji officials, foreign merchants, or diplomats seem to have publicly mentioned this aborted deal. Unlike his friend Edward Schnell, Giacomo never entered a lawsuit with the Meiji government about the settlement of inconclusive deals or lost assets. After the Boshin War, Giacomo continued to trade silk from his Yokohama office until his departure or death in 1878. Some more footnotes here. So this particular PDF is just the tip of an iceberg. That is the sort of area that I was looking into in terms of the early Christian Catholic missions to Japan in that Tokugawa Shogunate era, the 1600s to the 1800s here. This PDF spoke to me for a couple of reasons, both because of its brevity. It was nice and short, concise, and it spoke powerfully to me of a story that almost never got told, and a story that more or less, didn't come to pass. But that was a strong reflection of the lengths to which certain members of the samurai class of Japan during this time period were at the end of their efforts to preserve the shogunate, willing to go to try to keep fighting a little longer for the order that they preferred, right? That they came from. So Academia.edu, I found this to be a neat little doc. I don't know if anybody else enjoyed it. I've got a couple people watching right now. You, Jenny, thanks for the comment, brother. Thanks for stopping by. This is a real brief video, just having some fun with you guys. There we go. We'll come back up to full screen for a moment. And yeah, just basically I invite you all to check out Academia.edu. I would caution you lightly on signing up for them emailing you. I seem to be getting emails from them like every day. They want to sell you on some like Academia Premium where you can check to see if you've been mentioned in any of these academic papers around the world, which doesn't really seem like a value proposition I need to try to take on. So I doubt that there's any real mentions of somebody like me and other people's, thesis statements and things like that. So be a little cautious of that. But none of these PDFs seem to be paywalled at all. I do get an interesting, like every couple of days, I get a newsletter from them with more PDFs on different topics. And I think they've been sending me a lot of stuff on Japan, probably because that's where I started with them. So maybe there's some logic at work behind the scenes or some algorithm there where it picked up on a preference of mine. I don't really remember getting rigorous in terms of describing what I was interested in with Academia.edu. So actually, let me see if, let's do this. I'll bring it up on screen for you before we go. That should be it. There we go. So let's see. Is this their main? Yes, this is the site. Is there like a big landing page for them? So there you can see here, J.M. Giacomo and the mine leased in Japan that never happened. Here's another one that I was looking at, Jesuits and the problem of slavery in early modern Japan. It's a doctoral thesis, a little longer. So it's not the kind of thing I can just, just sit here and read a 30 or 40 page or longer doc to you guys every time. I know that we do go that deep sometimes, but I'm like clicking people all over the place over here. I don't know what I'm doing. Some of those people are people I know, so I don't know if they're really academics or if they've written papers or not. But you can see here they're trying to get me to go to my mentions, but then they're like upgrade. So it's like, all right, well, papers that mention be awake. All right, probably don't need to worry about that myself personally. You guys get the idea, though. Really cool resource here, Academia.edu. Hello, Glyph. Hello from Italy. Thank you for visiting with me this afternoon. Just about getting ready to wrap it up here for you guys. And so we'll go ahead and stop that screen. And if you're just getting here and you missed the reading of the PDF, please, just scrub that, reverse it back to the beginning, start it over. Let me know what you thought about this document. Let me know if you have any interest in this particular period in Japan's history. it's one I've always sort of found interesting. And what got me started on that particular search was a few weeks ago, Andreas Exertus made mention of Shusaku Endo and his novel Silence, which I read many years ago, back in my early 20s sometime. Read a couple of Endo's books. Japanese author, very famous, one of the probably the biggest of like the 20th century to make it out of Japan and sort of into the popular wider Western zeitgeist. So definitely Endo is an author who anybody who's read him, most of us would probably recommend him, especially for some sort of insight into that vibe of historical Japan. So that's what got me started on it. So Andreas, if you happen to see this, thanks, buddy, for getting me fired up about Japan again and thinking about it. Thinking about Shusaku Endo, thinking about James Clavell and the Noble House series of books, which were absolutely unbelievably epic and have probably fallen into the mists of memory for most of us who read them once back in their heyday. For the younger members of the audience who, might not have ever even heard of James Clavell or Noble House, that's a series of novels that will keep you busy for a quick minute. Historical fiction, fun stuff, kind of swashbuckling, kind of House of Cards, Game of Thronesy kind of vibes in a lot of ways. So check out Clavell, Game of Thrones sometime, Clavell, Noble House sometime. And I think we'll go out with a quick puff and say goodbye for you for today, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Salud. All right, everybody. You know what to do. I'll see you soon. But until then, smoke some indica. Do shit anyway.